Welcome back. As more mosquitoes test positive for West Nile virus across our state, a team of Yale researchers is working to create a new kind of vaccine. It could slow the spread of viruses carried by insects. We are happy to have Dr. Heidi Zapata joining us this morning to explain the project. Thank you so much for being with us. So this is exciting stuff. Tell us how it works.
Sure, and thank you for having me. So vaccines normally target the infectious agent. And in this project, we're aiming to target the vector. So a tick, for example, or a mosquito, and use that to make a vaccine.
So the people at home who are watching, obviously the vaccine we've all heard about a lot lately is the COVID vaccine. That, I'm going to let you do the science, but I'll tell you how I think it works, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. The COVID vaccine looks for the COVID virus in your body and blocks it, shuts it down. This is actually going to what would be transmitting the virus and making a change there. Is that a real simple way to explain it?
Yeah, so the COVID vaccine targets a protein on the virus. And so that helps our immune system fight the virus. Here, we would be looking at tick or mosquito proteins, target those to then create a vaccine that kind of is what we would call like a universal tick or mosquito vaccine. So actually work by Dr. Fickrig here at Yale showed that in a mouse model, when he created an mRNA vaccine that had a list of tick proteins, when they gave the vaccine to mice, you could block tick attachment and transmission of the Lyme pathogen. So it's that idea, targeting the unique proteins of the tick or the mosquito to create a vaccine.
And so, I was reading a little bit about that tick example. So if we all know when you go out and walk in the woods, look for a tick. If it hasn't, bored down deep into your skin, maybe you can just say, okay, it wasn't there long enough to have transmitted the virus, in that case, Lyme disease. So if the tick can't be on your skin or be on you for long enough to transmit the virus, then by attacking the tick, we've actually attacked the virus without that virus having to be in our body. So from science's perspective, is that a huge advancement?
If we could pull it off, yes. Yeah, it would be great.
And so what are the early returns on this? I mean, you mentioned the study with mice. Do you think this is something that you and the other researchers can pull off?
We're working on it, Eric. Let's hope.
So tell us the applicability of this. If this is something that works, I mentioned you before we started, obviously we're talking West Nile, and that's so much been in the news here in Connecticut. But if we take this out, I mean, there's lots of things that we don't see here in the United States or in North America, things like malaria, dengue fever, the Zika virus, anything that would then be transmitted this way. If we can stop that kind of transmission by, you called it the vector, I'll call it the mosquito or the tick. If you can make that connection, all sorts of other diseases could be in play here. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. I think as climate change progresses, I think this is going to have a huge impact if we could get it to work. So yes, I think it would be really important, as you said.
Are there other applications now? So if we take this and we run with it, are there other things that, I mentioned a few different diseases, but just in the world of science, if we can change the model from attacking the virus once it's already in the body to preventing transmission, how could you as a researcher then start building off of that to come up with other uses?
I mean, so I think as you implied, we could target any infectious agent that is carried by such a vector, such as a mosquito or tick. There are other insect vectors in the world, like tsetse flies, other types of ticks. So, I mean, yeah, it could be applied to other insect vectors, as you said.
So I know no researcher wants the silly TV guy to get out ahead of their research, and you've been very careful to say if you can pull it off. But tell us about the process to figure that out. So what has to happen now to determine if this is going to work?
Well, we're we're all actively working on it. The project involves Richard Flavell, Dr. Fickrig, Aaron Ring, Madri Laurent Roll, Drew Weissman, and researchers also at Hopkins, Fatina Sines and George Dimopoulos. All I could say is we're working on it, Eric, and we'll keep you posted.
And do you do clinical trials like you would with the new drug? Do you have to do, like you talked about, the testing with mice? What are the steps that all those folks you just listed are working on right now?
Well, currently we're still working on the basic research. We haven't gotten to a clinical trial yet. We're working to get there.
Okay. And do you have any sort of idea time frame? Is this something that might be 5 years out, 2 years out, 10 years out? What if this goes in your wildest dreams and is a big success and you're all writing a great journal article about it? When are we looking at maybe that happening?
I can't really say, Eric. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. There you go. Spoken like a TV professional. I want to ask you about this because this is all happening through your work at Yale. If people watching our show here in Connecticut, they may not even know that this is happening. Should they be glad that whether it's this project or any of the other exciting things happening research-wise at Yale, that it's happening in their home state? Is this something we should all be proud of?
I think so. I think there are really good people here at Yale that are working really hard on projects like these. Yeah.
And these are the kind of things, when you have that kind of spread and you talk about all the different diseases that potentially this could affect, this could be world-changing stuff if it works, and it could all be right here out of Connecticut.
That's right.
All right. So you say stay tuned. What should be the next big thing we're watching for? Just an announcement from you guys that you've made some progress?
Yeah. Yeah, an announcement. Yeah. We'll let you guys know. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
All right. Well, we appreciate having you here on the show. Dr. Heidi Zapata, an assistant professor at the Yale School of Medicine, talking about this new mRNA vaccine that targets the vector, not the virus. See, I'm learning stuff. Coming up next in our program, he's